Man, all day long, I've been fighting. I've been fighting not to say it. Something was saying, Rob, don't say it. Don't say it. But you know what? I'm going to say it. We did it today. The Baltimore Ravens did it today. And one flock, the rest of the league, the rest of the NFL has officially been put on notice. The Baltimore Ravens are here. And this year, we mean business. The Super Bowl is what you should expect. I'll tell you why right after this. Welcome to One Flock. I'm your host, Rob Love. And if you can't tell, I'm so excited. Let's go.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Welcome to another episode of One Flock. I'm your host, Rob Love, and what a day, what a offseason it has been already, and we are not done. This is some exciting stuff I have to talk about with you today, so let's just dig and tear right into it. A lot of us were starting to get a little bit antsy. We were, man, the Ravens haven't made any big splashes in the offseason. We were sitting here watching people, pick up big players. Everybody was looking at the Steelers like, oh boy, the Steelers, they just took a guy that a lot of Ravens fans were hoping we might take a look at. They stole that big super wide receiver from the Seattle Seahawks. Then they looked over and they saw Debo flying over. Jaden Daniels got Debo now at the Commanders. We were seeing all these moves. Crickets from the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to say it wasn't crickets. And here's what I'm going to say: it wasn't crickets. Because the Baltimore Ravens, before any of this hysteria that you saw in the last couple of days started to take off, the Baltimore Ravens secured what will become arguably one of the biggest signings of this signing period. Who am I talking about? Mr. Ronnie Stanley. Now, some of you are going, oh, Ronnie Stanley, he's not the Ronnie Stanley he used to be, and this, that, and the other. And, for those of you who are saying that, I'm not going to disagree. But what I am going to say to you is, are you paying attention to the room? We just signed Mr. Ronnie Stanley, who his numbers last year were very, very good numbers. They weren't, Ronnie Stanley numbers from 3 years ago. But what Ronnie Stanley did from the left tackle position was very good in the league. His numbers arguably were top 10. What does that mean? We got him for $20 million? $20 million? Let me ask you a question. Do any of you guys know who this Jalen guy is that the Kansas City Chiefs picked up? There, I'm going to tell you his name, and this is how you know that there may be a problem here. But the guy that the Kansas City Chiefs picked up in this signing season for left tackle is a guy by the name of Jalen Moore. That's who they picked up. Jalen Moore. They're paying him $15 million a year. Just 5 less than one Ronnie Stanley. Are you seeing what I'm talking about? This guy, Jalen Moore, was a backup. A backup. He wasn't even a starter on the team he came from. He was a backup on the San Francisco 49ers. I think he played in 9 games. He's getting $15 million from the Kansas City Chiefs. And we got Ronnie Stanley for 20? Let me tell you something, Ravens fans. One flock. That right there, getting Ronnie Stanley, not only who we've seen play at an elite level, but who has the familiarity that he has with Lamar Jackson, that chemistry that he's built with Lamar Jackson over the last few years, this right here is a huge signing. Perhaps I would say at this point, one of the biggest acquisitions in NFL free agency, the extension of Ronnie Stanley. That alone was huge because think about it. If we had lost Ronnie Stanley, and believe me, we would have, if Ronnie Stanley had been allowed to go out and shop the market, the bidding war would have been crazy. If they're paying $15 million for the likes of Jalen Moore, who I can't remember for more than the 30 seconds that passes in between mentioning his name, if they're paying $15 million for that guy a year, Ronnie Stanley easily would have pulled 25. Easily. Which we can't afford. So kudos to EDC and those guys and to Ronnie Stanley, who took a team-friendly deal, obviously, because he feels something happening at Baltimore. Obviously, it's not all about money. When you get up, 20 million, 25 million, it's millions of dollars, right? But a Super Bowl? Ronnie Stanley knows who he's playing with. He knows who's under center behind him that he's protecting. And my goodness, this was huge news because while Patrick Mahomes, with all his talent, we've seen what it's like when he's running for his life. No one has performed under pressure as well as Lamar Jackson has. But for Lamar Jackson to, and this is what we're seeing what were issues for him when he first came on, and the Ravens weren't ready. They hadn't developed a good offensive line that could protect him even when he's in motion. They hadn't developed their wide receiver room to where they were giving him capable weapons. They hadn't put in an offensive system and coordinator that could utilize all of Lamar Jackson's abilities. And now we're seeing all these pieces finally coming together. And by the time you're done with this episode, where I'm about to share with you, you're going to see exactly what's got me so excited. So we start right there. Ronnie Stanley's here. Patrick McCarry, he's gone down the road. So we do have a hole in the offensive line. But Patrick McCarry's a lot easier to replace than Ronnie Stanley. Your left tackle is your highest paid guy on the line for a reason. Right now, Lamar Jackson has arguably one of the best centers in the league. He has Ronnie Stanley, top 10 left tackle easily. And Rosengarten from the draft last year is quickly emerging as one of the real talents on offensive line at the right tackle position. So 3 members of the offensive line got some good things to say about. Now, you do have to figure out what to do about McCarry, but that is a much easier thing to figure out than how to pull a left tackle out of nowhere when there aren't any out there. That's why the Chiefs are stuck with Jalen Moore. I remembered him this time. Patrick Mahomes is looking at a Jalen Moore for his left tackle. Imagine that. Ooh, big win. Big win for the Ravens, keeping Ronnie Stanley at that price point. But today, D-Hop, the Baltimore Ravens added DeAndre Hopkins to this wide receiver room, a wide receiver room that already we were excited about because we know we got something special with Zay Flowers. We got stupid excited when finally we got to see Rashad Bateman in the postseason, showing us what we knew we thought we were getting from him. But his injuries had kept him offline, and then he had personal tragedies that had taken place in his life. And it just seemed like a lot of fans were kind of, I don't know about Bateman. But Bateman, go back and watch his film. The brother was an absolute catch monster. I mean, this brother was special, and that's why we were so excited about him to begin with when we drafted him. But of course, we know what happened, the injuries and all the things that took place with Rashad Bateman. But how did you feel when suddenly, when all the pressure was on the line, Rashad Bateman, the same Rashad Bateman we'd seen emerging as the season progressed and he got further and further rehab from his injury, the sure-handed, reliable, confident wide receiver that suddenly was a real threat. a very real threat. In fact, if Mark Andrews had played to the level of Rashad Bateman, we would have handily beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. Bateman was not the issue. Bateman looked great. And that was with no Zay Flowers there with him. Well, now you're talking about a wide receiver room that if you're not excited, you should be. DeAndre Hopkins, yes, he's 32 years old, I believe. But this isn't the same thing that happened. Remember, Lamar Jackson had requested, when he signed his deal, he had requested D-Hop back then. Lamar's been wanting D-Hop for a minute. He requested Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins. And of course, we didn't get both. We got Odell. But DeAndre Hopkins is not the injury-riddled Odell Beckham Jr. that the Ravens picked up in that deal. We're talking about a DeAndre Hopkins that while he's not at his prime condition, DeAndre Hopkins is still DeAndre Hopkins. He has not had the injury history. He is not banged up and battled and a big question mark as far as what you think you can get out of him. You're talking about a DeAndre Hopkins who is ready to win. And now he's playing with his boy, Lamar Jackson. Oh, and his other boy, Derrick Henry, who those two, remember, for a short while were together at the Tennessee Titans. So there's some more camaraderie, familiarity. What the Baltimore Ravens have done with this budget-friendly, because what we did this year had to be budget-friendly because of where we are with the limited cap space. They now have retained the most important pieces of our offensive line. They have established a wide receiver room for Lamar Jackson that will increase the ability of what was already an MVP season last year, where Lamar Jackson was able to do things through the air that we've never seen without a DeAndre Hopkins. Whew. What do you think is going to happen now? And remember, the Ravens aren't done. We still haven't drafted. The draft hasn't happened yet, but here's what we already know. And this is what I want you to pay attention to. Now, some of this could change, but very little of it will. Let's go through the offense that we have right now. We'll start with, we got Lamar Jackson. Scariest quarterback in the game. Behind him, at the running back position, we have Derrick Henry, the king, and Justice Hill. Let's not forget about Justice Hill. Justice Hill was unstoppable as a speed back in tandem with Derrick Henry last year. We got a healthy Justice Hill who is, man, special. Oh, Keaton Mitchell, fully recovered. So our running back room is Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell. Whew. Let's not forget about our fullback, Patrick Ricard. There's the running room. We just talked about wide receiver. At wide receiver, you got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and DeAndre Hopkins. We're hoping we get Tylan Wallace back. Tylan Wallace is still out there right now, but if no one picks him up, expect for the Ravens to bring him back. Oh, my goodness. Tylan Wallace, you got to see him. Anytime Tylan Wallace has been asked to step up, he has stepped up. I think he's one of the most underrated bench wide receivers out there. And it's a good chance we still bring him back. Tight ends. We got Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews for the time being, and Kohler. Even if we lose Andrews, remember, if we give up Andrews, what are we getting in return? It's going to be something nice. If we don't give up Andrews, if we keep him for that last year, are you trying to pretend like you're a defensive coordinator? Looking at this set of players and trying to decide how you're going to stop it? How do you stop that team when you have a quarterback who is elite at distributing the ball amongst his weapons, no matter who they are? But now that's what he's going to have? DeAndre Hopkins, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell. Oh, my goodness. Super Bowl, here we come. Because at the same time that they've done that, They have solid left tackle, proven left tackle, Ronnie Stanley. Rosengarten, Lindenbaum. We've got some showing up to do on the O-line yet, and we got the draft to do it, and there'll still be other moves made. This offense is scary. Super scary. We were scary last year, but it just got scarier. And on the defensive side, a lot of Ravens fans were happy to see the Brandon Stevens saga end. Well, you know what that means? That means there's some move coming to shore up that used to be weak spot amongst a very strong defense. And if those of you who haven't watched already, we did an entire episode on what the Ravens did on the coaching staff already. 2 major moves on the coaching staff that the Ravens made that are going to make this defense, what we became the second half of last season, is getting another jolt. This defense is about to take another step. And for those of you who don't recall, who haven't been watching the growth, haven't been watching the trend, remember McDonald when he was here? Started off bad. Didn't look so good. But as he had some time, got players used to him, he got used to the players, all of a sudden you saw this dramatic improvement. Zach Orr showed us the same thing last year. No one was complaining about the level of play that we were getting out of our defense at the end of that year, after week 11, I believe it was. Well, that defensive staff got better. We've added some stuff there that I'm telling you right now. Watch that episode. You'll understand. We're not going to talk about it now. We already talked about it. Those of you who didn't, go back and watch it. Whew. This is the kind of team that nobody is going to want to play next year. And while the Pittsburgh Steelers should be excited because now, they've picked up DK Metcalf. Ooh, you say, they got DK Metcalf. Well, who they got at quarterback? See, those kind of questions the Ravens don't have at any position. And that's why I'm telling you now, you heard it here first. That Super Bowl trophy is coming to Baltimore. It's coming to Baltimore. We don't have those questions. Even when you look over at Jaden Daniels and what they've been able to do with the Commanders, they don't have the defense that we have. And also that Deebo Samuel's acquisition, Deebo's been very lackluster for several years in a row. And they paid so much money to get him. The amount of money they paid for Deebo, the Ravens paid $5 million. $5 million with the potential to make $6 million for D-Hop. Woo! Time to get excited, Ravens fans. The true winners right now in this offseason coming forward, the true winners right now. The team that has the most swag going on right now is your Baltimore Ravens, because we have in place already, and the draft hasn't even happened yet, a team to be reckoned with. There are no big question marks going, what are we going to do here? Yes, there's some things we need to shore up. Specifically, people think about pass rush. What are we going to do there? But even if we just bring back Odafe Owe, he ain't sorry. Okay? Let's not just look at sack numbers. The pressure he gets, in spite of how many times he's getting held, he ain't sorry. Kyle Van Noy, come on, man. We can always find something to complain about, but what I'm saying to you is the Ravens right now, as they are, minor holes to fill. And it really doesn't matter who you fill them with at this stage. They're still the scariest team on the field right now. So rejoice, get ready. Save this episode. Remember, I told you, what's today's date? Today is March the 12th, 2025. I told you, Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl bound, coming up. Whew, well, what do you guys think? What do you think? You think that, are you disappointed with DeAndre Hopkins coming? You think that's a bad deal? You think EDC didn't pull the rabbit out of his hat? What you got? Leave it in the comments. If you're excited as I am, I want to see it right now. I want to see Super Bowl 2026. I want to see it in the comments right now. If you believe, if you see it, put it in there right now because I do. Man, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for being here today. I appreciate you. We got more to talk about. Of course, free agency isn't over. I want to talk about who the biggest loser so far in this free agency is, and also some of the top 10 moves, particularly that may be affecting us and the opponents we're going to have to face coming up next year. There have been some pretty significant ones we didn't really get into on this show, but that's what we'll be talking about next. If you're new to One Flock, thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here. And if you're part of the flock that's always been here since we started a whole 2 months ago, thank you for being back. Please like, subscribe, come back. We like to have fun, and we definitely got plenty to talk about. But remember, the most important thing we're going to say today is there's one thing in this world that it will never be too full of, and that thing is love. So do us all a favor. Find somebody who needs a little bit more love in their life and give it to them for me, all right? I appreciate you guys being here. For One Flock, I'm your host, Rob Love, saying thank you. Let's go get this Super Bowl, and we'll see you back next time right here. Thanks for flying with the brother. Let's go.
We take the field as one flock. On the Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go, Ravens, let's go, Ravens.